Right, let's jump into it. Where we are, 11th of the 11th. Remembrance Day, isn't it? I think a couple of minutes ago or so, a minute silence. Used to do that at school, of course, but I don't think the markets are really sort of stopping for that kind of stuff. But seem to be losing my losing my voice a little bit here, so try and sort of tick through these ones a little bit quicker. But we actually just had a bit of data out, which I sort of found quite interesting. Where we had the consumer sentiment here. So where we are, it's just 20 past 11 at the moment. As I said, yeah, 11th of the 11th, so Tuesday. See if we can get some turnaround Tuesday action. But yeah, consumer sentiment here for Aussie. Wow, it is solved. Australia is saved. So we've gone from negative numbers for the last two prints and that to not even just coming into the positive, but absolutely walloping it. Look at this. This is like 12.8 takes us all the way back to September 2020. So that's 5 years. The consumer has not had such a sort of strong sentiment in the market. That's amazing. I don't know how the hell they get these numbers, but yeah. Anyway, apparently that's where it's at. I don't know if that actually reflects anything in real life, or if that's just a bit of a just some numbers. But we'll see how we go. Business confidence. That'll be an interesting one coming up in 9 minutes. So maybe by the end of this video. In terms of the rest of the data, we don't really have a lot coming out. We've got Claremont count coming out of GBP England over there. That's looking to sort of tick down a little bit. England data doesn't really impact things broader than GBP pairs anyway. And also Claremont count, look, it's the unemployment numbers, but look, moving down is somewhat positive for them. But again, outside trading those pairs, I don't think it's really going to have any sort of broader effect on the market. So not a great deal of interest to myself. And apart from that, we don't really have much other data. We've got a bit of China sort of low-level data coming out later, but nothing really to speak of. I guess sort of headline slash news sort of big talk is the shutdown ending though, and it sort of seems to be happening, but it's not quite there yet. So it still needs to be signed off by Trump, which I don't see why he wouldn't, kind of thing. Sort of, there hasn't really been a lot of talk, actually, to tell you the truth, the whole time. This, geez, I'm really losing my voice here. The whole time that this shutdown's been happening, I haven't really heard a peep out of him. So anyway, look, apparently they reached a bit of a deal on that, and I think it's somewhat of a kick the can down the road kind of temporary deal kind of thing. So they've agreed on some fundings, but not other fundings. I think sort of the healthcare is still an issue for them over there. So we saw metals take off yesterday, and a good place to start, I suppose, with this, because this has been a great trade. This metals pullback here. So actually, this whole sort of trade coming down the side over here, if you've been watching what I've been doing and how I've been charting this sort of stuff, there's been the tells all the way through here. This little progression of the buyers moving up along this line here. Even just the other week in that, we had this little pullback down here, break and back test here. I think a lot of people were like, oh, it's a fail here. But I did put a chart up on X at that time. And said, look, this is actually just a back test of this falling resistance here. And obviously, as you can see, bang, moved nicely. Interesting bit of price action around this was this spike into close of the week. And I referenced this over the weekend because it's just like a little shoot up here, tested where it needed to test. Like this is where we knew the sellers were, hence why we've got that zone sitting there. And that provided a great confirmation of breakout point for the move through yesterday. But generally, sort of like this was at the end of English European session, 3 o'clock, and bang, obviously a big spike up there. It got sold into pretty quickly, but there's obviously something going on which caused that. But I have been noticing 3 a.m. Melbourne time, so close of Europe, has been quite a big push. If you have a look at even gold last night, I think that was probably around the same time we got that second push here, so just this candle here, 3 o'clock closes, bang, and what does it do? It takes another leg up to the top side there. So look, I do feel that this is a little bit short squeeze-ish, and this is what I've been saying, that sort of like the whole market's like, okay, bang, we've been selling down, selling down, selling down, selling down. This thing here, to me, it feels like we're in backtest territory. So we're in the area where we're coming back up, horizontal through here. This is where we've had the level that I've been sort of eyeing for the last week or so, week and a bit, saying that, look, I want to see this move back up over here. This also comes pretty much in line with this little measured move of this, and obviously you can't see it on the 1 hour. Excuse me. But actually, do it on the daily. I think it shows a little bit better here. But this was the double bottom. And this is obviously your breakout. Bang, we moved up over here. And as you can see, around that sort of within another 10 bucks or so, we got the measure move completed there. And the reason that, among multiple reasons of it all, but if you watch what I was saying about it, it just comes back down to basic structure. It's the same thing that we see every time. Sellers move down, they find a support, they move up, find a resistance. Third leg, this is the one that'll tell us. High, low, double bottom, lower, low. Came through, broke through, lower, low. Cycle starts again. Finds support, support comes up, finds resistance. Third leg comes down. This is either high, low, double bottom, or lower, low. And this was the one that sort of gave us that base there. And so if you look at the video, whatever this was, Tuesday, Wednesday last week, this is when I was starting to say, hey, look, you know what? You got to respect the fact that it was unable to sort of break through here. So what does it do? It puts the emphasis back on this point here, that bounce point, which is obviously that 30 line, 40-30. And that's what provided a breakout to get back up over here. Now, this is a decent move. I mean, it's obviously kicking up, and it's even as we talk now, and that it's sort of moving up here a little bit as well. But you got to remember that this has actually broken this big daily trend. Now, a test of the underside here could take us all the way up to 42.50 to test the underside of this. But the fact that you broke this trend, I think for the most part, more likely, I mean, look, nothing's ever 100%, that's what I always say, but most likely you got to respect that that's broken, and that means this move needs to play out down in this area a little bit more. I don't think this is enough of a breakdown to sort of say, okay, here's the big trend, we broke it. It just structurally wouldn't be right to necessarily, look, I mean, as I said, anything can happen, to sort of come back all the way back up to the top. So, look, you could see some more little short-term upside here. If we get back onto the 4-hour, maybe clear a little bit of this up. So daily and the 4 hours, very bullish. And this is what I'm talking about. This kind of sort of like just straight up move to me cautions. It just makes me a little bit cautious because it's not normal price action flow, as in like, even if you look through these areas here, like, yes, it just kept going up, 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 up. And that is not normal price action. This isn't normal price action. This is kind of like, okay, a whole bunch of people thought we were coming down over here, 37s, 36s, whatever. And because of that, they're all sort of there. Where do they put their stops? They put them here. And this is just hitting, squeezing them out, moving back up over here though. But it doesn't necessarily mean, hey, the game's over and we're moving back up to the top. And if it were, I would expect more sort of normal price action in sense of this kind of stuff. That's how if this was a legitimate move and we were just into the next leg and we were coming back up over here, look, it still it could do this, of course, always need to preface these things. But to me, this is a bit more sort of just, okay, let's hit some stops, run everybody out, and then we start to load, and then we start to see this move come down over here. So I am still, if you look at the video that I sort of put on the weekend, I was saying between 40.90 and 40.40. I'm going to be looking for shorts, and obviously we're back up into that zone here now. So I've closed out my longs. We'll see how we go with it all. This thing could definitely just keep careening through. I mean, as I said, anything could happen with it all. But there's a couple of reasons why I feel that this is probably just more backtest area. And another one is the DXY, which is what I'll get to in a moment. But we had this little drop down here last week. And this is when DXY had a little bit of a bounce from the two levels. I'll do DXY next and I'll show it at the same time. But as DXY had a little bounce off the first level that I had marked out, gold just got thumped. $100 this was, I think. So 90, what was it? 4,000. So $70, bang, just on a little bounce from gold. DXY. So should we see a bounce from DXY? Well, I think that's going to be fed by the metals and that. As I say, it is pushing up higher, so you got to respect that for now. Look, the chance of this sort of thing falling over, First level I'd want to see it under is back underneath 41, coming into daily resistance now as I speak. So that's sort of 41.26. Um, but yeah, underneath 41.06, then I think this is the kind of area I want to see it underneath. 40.70. 40.70 is actually the breakout level as well. Notice this, that if you look at this, get this thing out of the way. If you look at this, where this broke through on a daily, well, 40.70 was that level. There was a little bit of a stuffing around on the way up last night as well, around 40.70. So it's obviously an area that the market's kind of looking at. So should we get down, there's a little thing, underneath 40.70, I think that's the time that you can say, okay, hold on, wait, we're coming back a little bit more. So it's got a little bit of work to do. It's coming into that daily resistance, 41.26 right now. We got, what, about sort of 30 minutes or 15 minutes or so, 15 minutes, 30 minutes till DXY opens. Actually opens on some charts at 11:45, so 14 minutes, and then some at 12. So, but 12 is where you kind of get a bit more of the actual action. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But certainly underneath 40.70, I think that's going to be confirmation that we're coming back down. And you look down around to 40.30 is the next, there's the first little target, that little trade through here. If you go back down underneath 40.30, because remember 40.30 was the breakout level, that was the one that we were looking for. We've just got completion of this double bottom, or range, whatever you want to call it, back underneath 40.30, then I think that's where we're going, way down. But, you know, that's obviously a complete opposite direction of where we are right now, but, you know, these things can happen. All right, DXY. So this is partly the reason because, so with DXY, there's a couple of things to unpack here. One is that we've still got the gap open from last week. And if you trade DXY, or even if you just chart it, watch the price action a lot, you notice these things of when they leave the gaps open, they'll either close it straight away. Here's a little gap, we close it straight away. Or we will sort of like try and close it in the Europe session. And generally, if the Europe session passes and you still haven't closed it, it'll stay open for at least a week or so. And that's pretty much where we are, because where was that gap last week? Thursday. Well, we're not back closing it as of yet. So I would say that this would at least require or warrant a little effort back up over here. Now, confirmation of this is definitely going to be above 99.80, but I would say even above 99.75, you could start to sort of say, hey, hold on, wait, we've got a little bit of a double bottom going on here. And again, you know, if you look at what I said on the weekend, we were coming back down into the zone. I was looking for a consolidation down here. Then midweek, excuse me, we start to move back up over to target this close of the gap. And that'll be the difference, and that'll be the tell. Because again, it's the same structure with everything. It doesn't matter what you trade, and doesn't matter what time frame you're trading. You move up, you move back down. You find support. Where do you find support? Previous resistance. We need to have this leg, in my opinion. Even if we are to sort of come down further and break like that, I would say that we need to have this leg here to sort of confirm that. So if we move up here, we target closing the gap. You'll probably get a reaction when the gap's closed. Doesn't mean that's the lower high, but you probably will get a reaction when that gap closes. But it could just be a little pullback like that, and then another push through. So that could happen, but we will get a reaction from when the gap closes, should it get up to there. But most likely that's going to be a target. It's going to be a magnet for price. That's why we use these confirmation lines through here to sort of say, if we get above here, that could be the move that we're talking about. What I was talking about a second ago with gold was this little move here. So if we put the chart side by side, for some reason it always wants me to chart it against the Dow, which obviously we don't want to do. So where were we just? Okay, that was a different one actually. Sorry, that wasn't this move here, was it? So it's this move here. So this pullback move here, 20 down to 67, so 70 bucks. I referenced the wrong part here, but 70 buck pullback here as this tried to break through, and this was the back test area. that was at the same time that we had this little bounce. You can see the grey lines line up with the timing on the two of them. So the second that we got that bounce, which bounced right on the spot of where it was supposed to, they dumped metal straight away. I think that could be a bit of a tell. I think that could be the thing that sort of shows, because if we go back to one chart, the whole time that, well, the whole time, all of yesterday that we were seeing metals absolutely rip to the top side. Like we had big moves yesterday. Silver was like over 3%. Gold I think was over 2% or so. It's like $114 day. It was massive. DXY should have done that because they have a pretty inverse relationship with each other, but it didn't. It just went sideways. So that means even while they're buying gold and moving that up, they're actually sort of holding DXY sideways. So they're still buying this. They're not selling it. They're not selling US dollar to buy gold. They're buying gold. Obviously, that moved up. But at the same time, they're also buying US dollar. And this is why I say I work with a 90 to 10 sort of ratio with it. 90% of the time they'll run inverse. 10% of the time they'll well, they're not doing the same here, but they're not selling US dollar to fund that metals move. So if we do see a pullback on the metals, that's a segment of the market that's going to be coming out of metals and most likely back into the US dollar. But at the same time, you've already got the people that are sitting here buying the US dollar anyway. That's the kind of move that I think will sort of give us the push back up. So if I see DXY start to push up over here, that's the plan, to sort of be on the shorter side of metals, despite this big move, because it does feel a bit short squeeze-ish. It doesn't feel like normal price action. It feels like something that they're just sort of let's just go straight up, 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 up. So it gives nobody a chance to get on or get off, depending on what you're doing, what direction you're going, and they just chop them all up. Now, you need to consider both sides of it all, and the other side of it is that this is unable to rally and moves back down over here. The downside risk of this then is that you're going through this rising support plus this horizontal over here. So should you come down over here, well, I'd say I'm probably wrong with that and probably got another $100 to go in gold as well. So back up, and that would give us that retest at that 42.50 level. But that's the secondary move that I'm kind of looking for. My main sort of plan is the idea that we see a push up in the dollar from here. All right, tick along. We got silver quickly. Now silver, this is a bit of a wonky looking flag that I put up the other day. Like I'm not a big fan of these expanding yada yada kind of ones, but I did put this up and 50-50 was the target. We've just clipped into that. The market's going, yep, cool. All right. It's halting around here, at least for now. As I said, we'll probably get a better idea in the next half hour or so. But as you can see, pretty much that 50-50 level, that's where we kind of thought it would be. It's gone back up above the all-time highs, which is what I wanted to see. I wanted to see get up over here because even while we were down over here and people were like, oh, no, it's failing, it's failing. I was like, nah, look, even if it's going to go down, to me, just from a psychological point, it would make more sense to get up here because, again, if you look at the weekend videos, like, silver are like Bitcoin crew. They're kind of insane and they don't understand that things don't just always go straight up. And so by going back up past the all-time high, you're going to get people, and I've even seen it this morning. I had a mate send me a little screenshot of somebody else. Oh, wow, $70, the next stop. And look, it is plausible. This whole point at the back here, above the all-time high, that was fake breakout. This is back test. That's fine. We're in this leg here now. So we're in the defining leg, this one here that I keep talking about. So is this one going to go double top, lower high, or is it going to power through and go all the way up over here? I don't think that's the case. I don't anyway. Could be wrong. But I think we're in this third defining leg at the moment. And I think this is what's going to produce a lower high. As I said, I've been sort of thinking around the 61% retracement, previous neckline from the not inverted, just a normal sort of Head and Shoulders that I had marked out there, not including the wicks, of course, as I've said a couple of times. That's what gave us our breakdown level. That's the confluence there. This rising support, the horizontal of that neckline, that's what gave us our big breakdown. Come back up here, test that, then move down. We'll see how we go. But again, I feel that this kind of move through here is a bit more just like, let's just go straight up. And straight up generally comes to a straight down kind of move. One of these sort of things is sometimes, we'll see how we go. You see the resulting move, like everything feels like a big move, and then you see the resulting move actually dwarf it. If that does happen to play out, that's when you're going to be looking at your 42s, or maybe 43, 43, 50, 44s, down into these areas over here. And by comparison, that would make this move here obviously look a little bit smaller. Maybe it's wishful thinking, I don't know, whichever, we'll see how we go. All right, let's kick on. We got copper. Copper's coming up, retesting this horizontal. As I say, I've lost a bit of interest in copper. The correlation between it and Aussie has kind of dropped. Plus, on top of that, as an actual thing to trade itself, these massive, ridiculous moves kind of just makes it a very big risk. And not good risk proxy kind of thing, but a very good sort of risk, well, not good, but a very big risk to potential just blowing your accounts should they have stuff. Look, maybe that won't happen again, but I don't know. I'm again not really sold on it. It is coming up here, retesting kind of the underside of what this is here. I do think that this will roll over and still target down to the bottom side there for what that's worth. As I said, not trading it. And yuan. Yuan retesting the underside of this big weekly support, rising support. And this obviously was the plan, that you may get a bit of a pullback here, and then hopefully, well, no, I don't use the word hope because I hate that hope's not a strategy. If we do see the buyers step in here, that's the plan. That's the kind of thing. If it continues to drop down, well, so be it. I think that's could be putting it pretty much in danger for non-completing this range. So with like ranges, channels, all these kind of things, for me anyway, I like to sort of see it sort of really respect both sides. So you've hit the top, you hit the bottom, hit the top, hit the top, hit the top, hit the bottom. But if it sort of fails to get up to that area, that's a break of structure for me, which means that the sellers are sitting here, the sellers have moved down a bit, and most likely puts the emphasis back on these lows down over here, 408, in which then you could potentially see a bigger break to the downside there. Now, the things that will probably happen around these times is you probably will see gold push back up into those 42s. You'll see DXY probably break that rising support, and you probably see Aussie get a bit of a kick back up there as well. But yeah, we'll have to see how that goes. Speaking of which, I don't think I did Aussie there, did I? Yeah, so we are seeing a little bit of a push up in Aussie here, but again, this was kind of the plan, move up to then potentially come down. We have this larger kind of structure, this kind of triangle forming here. So the fact that it's kind of sort of like moving up over to here is not really too much of a sort of confirmation one way or another. I mean, like while DXY is not doing much, you expect it to be moving. It hasn't really moved much with its pairs, like its correlations with metals, equities, all these kind of things. It's kind of like gone out on its own a little bit. We had that sort of amazing sentiment data out before, and hasn't done anything. It's just dead flat on the day. So far, it's dribbling down a little bit. But we'll see how we go. Yeah, I think any sort of move back up over to sort of these sort of areas over here will probably offer a pretty decent short opportunity. Should we get up over to here, around that 61 to 78%, with the falling resistance there to then potentially come back and target this 64.80 level. All right, that's it from me.